Hello, come on in. Is that you, Lucas?
Yes, it's me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good.
Grab a seat.
Oh, thank you.
So you're saying you were pooped the other day.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely ready for hibernation when this term's over.
Would you like tea?
I would love some tea, please. Thank you.
It's Earl Grey. Help yourself to some sugar and milk.
Don't mind if I do.
And I've got some snacks for you. I know you didn't eat lunch, so.
Thanks. If you don't mind, why are we here today?
Well, I've been thinking about the art of war. I had some thoughts I'd like to discuss with you.
Are you talking about Sun Tzu's The Art of War?
Oh, no, not quite. I mean, war artists. I found out that although artists were primarily male that were employed during World War I and II, that there were a small collection of female artists that showed a different point of view during the two world wars.
Is that so? You know, military art has been of great interest to myself lately.
Yes. Did you know that there were 62 women from Britain, Canada, US, New Zealand, and Australia that did this artwork during World War I and II?
I did not know that. I did not know about those, and that there were that many that were specifically female. Do you know that Canadian-sponsored war artists all kind of started with the War Memorial Fund in 1916?
During World War I.
Exactly, and during World War II, in 1942, they created the Canadian War Records Program, and its job was to officially record those serving in action.
I read about Alan Moore. Do you know him?
The comic book guy?
No.
Oh.
No, he was one of the last surviving Australian World War artists. That he died last year at the age of 101. Do you know him?
I know of him. What makes him kind of stand out?
Well, he was best known for recording the horrors in the Bergen-Belsen Nazi concentration camps in 1945. And I guess why art is so important is because it shows what the aftermath is. I think that is what I want to capture in my work, the aftermath of war.
I think that's a fascinating overlooked subject. Why did you become so interested in it?
Well, when I first started dating my partner, he's a retired soldier with PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. I wanted to kind of find out about it because I knew nothing. So basically what I did was I researched and was doing work and then furthered my research into war in general. And I try to speak to the personal through him and myself in our relationship and expand it to the universal audience. Actually, this rifle here was my honey's grandfather's. It's a Lee Enfield, and it's stamped from usage in World War I and World War II.
Oh, that's all fascinating, and you know that is a perfect example of war art. And war art's interesting because there's this divide. You know, there's art done by those who witness it and participate in it, like David Alexander Colville. He was actually a Canadian war artist during World War II.
I don't know him. Do you have an image of his?
I do have an image of his. This one is called Infantry at Nijmegen, and he actually served as a lieutenant. And you know, he was on the ground serving a job, but those aren't the only people affected by war. You know, there are many artists who feel the effects through loved ones and through fallout from the overall conflict. And there are willing participants, unwilling participants, and bystanders, and they all have stories to tell.
Right, I agree. I think I want to understand about war and the complexities that drive them. How about you? You're in the military, right? But tell me about your helmet.
Oh, this is just a replica of a pickle helmet. So it's a World War I Prussian helmet from the beginning of the war. And yes, in the military, I serve as a reservist. I've been in for about 5 years, so I joined back when I was 16.
That's young. That was like my son. So do you think your experience informs your work?
I think it does. I think everything informs my work. I think I would be some kind of machine if it didn't. I read a book, it influences me. I hear strangers talking in the street. Uh, all those things. So yes, of course, my job crops up in my work. Yeah.
What artist influences your work?
More as an overall interest on kind of the subject of violence, which is an aspect of war. And his name's Leon Peterson, and I actually have an image of his too that I would like to share with you.
Will to Power what? I remember Peterson from your presentation in VAST. I find your work similar in style and like in your textile screen prints last year. There's one there and one hanging on the chair.
Yeah, I like him because he looks kind of allegorically at violence, and he wants to reveal something about human nature and human condition. And I believe, actually, I have another image of the artwork that you were specifically referring to, right here, and it is called Tapestry with Isis, and it's pretty highly contemporary, and it really looked at violence, and especially the violence that I witnessed at home on the computer screen. It includes screen print and embroidery, and I found that when I made this work, I was finding ISIS or ISIL propaganda videos on my Facebook feed, and every single day I'll be going on there and I'll be seeing uncensored videos of people getting beheaded, people burnt alive, people tied up and shot.
Yeah, I do agree. That's what I thought of your work, that it was a contemporary commentary on what ISIS is doing today. But you have talented the tongue-in-cheek in your work.
Okay. Well, what about you? I noticed some photography you've been doing, and it has your serious subject matter, but it also has a lot of humor to it.
Yes, it's in my photography course at the Raven Studio in North Island College. The work's called The Wall, and I had another fellow student who's graduating this year tell me that I address a sensitive subject by injecting sense of the comedic. And I thought that was kind of cool. My grandfather always told me that if you cannot laugh at yourself, you can't laugh at life.
He sounds like a smart man. My grandpa always said his favorite color was sky blue pink. I still don't know if it was pink or blue.
I never heard of sky blue pink.
So, both of us are interested in creating artwork that draws inspiration from the Canadian Forces. It is too bad the Canadian Armed Forces Civilian Artist Program got cancelled due to a lack of funds. It had been running since around 1968.
Yeah, it was cancelled in 1995. But, there's a new program that started June 6, 2001, and it's called the Canadian Forces Artist Program. And basically, it gives civilian artists the opportunity to record Canadian soldiers in action all around the world, which I think is awesome. It's not a paid job though, but travel and accommodations are included.
Yeah, I've been looking into that myself. However, I always forget about it. It selects several artists, but it can be hard to find who's currently participating, and they always are kind of like slow to update who it is, and it's hard to know an artist participated in it unless they kind of advertise it themselves. But I'd like to point out Richard Johnson. And I actually have a sketch of Richard's right here. He's currently participating in the program, and he started on November 6, 2015, so it's very recent. And he's in Ukraine right now with the soldiers. If you check out his Twitter, @NewsIllustrator, you can see his sketches posted every few hours.
Oh, that's cool. I tell you, I'm too old to be traipsing around jumping through barricades, but you're young and fit. Do you like the idea of being a Canadian SFAP?
Yeah, I do like the idea of going to the CFAP. I would be very interested in applying. However, there's a lot of people who don't get in. It's very competitive entry. It's a lot of world-class artists, and there are actually other ways to get in the action, like crowdfunding.
Like Kickstarter.
Exactly.
I've heard other artists getting funding through Kickstarter, but not any that were doing military art.
Yeah, I actually found a blog, and it's called Painting to Afghanistan, and it's by Chris Henneberry, and it's about an Emily Carr graduate, and who's also a serving member of the Canadian Army Reserves. And he used Kickstarter to fund a trip on a press pass to Afghanistan. And he kind of did this around the time that he applied for the CFAP, and it was actually denied. So he had to find his own way to go.
That's interesting. That's one thing about veterans and soldiers, you know, they're often looking for help to tell their story. So they're willing to cooperate with anyone that supports them in what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly, like Chris. And, you know, he found when he was there that when he was just considered a reporter, he blended into the crowd. Kind of there was a political agenda that people thought he had, and, you know, soldiers in Afghanistan didn't pay that much attention to him. But when he revealed himself as an artist, they opened up and they believed he could tell their real story.
Oh, I know a artist, Gertrude Kearns, who's interested in war art during 1991 Gulf War crisis. She had done research and was interested in doing work with the personnel. So she joined the Department of National Defense, DND, as part of the Canadian Forces Arts Program in 2003 to 2005. Have you seen her work?
Yeah, I know her, but she's been some other places besides Afghanistan, right?
Yeah, she did some work in Somalia, Rwanda, the Balkans, and she was with the Canadian Forces in Afghanistan in 2005 to 2006 on contract, and she's currently showing at the Fort York Visitor Center. Her show's called The Art of Command, and here's one of the prints. It's of Colonel Stogan.
Mon Coronel.
Yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the use of text within the subject. It creates a direct tension with the topic of war. She approaches the topic like Peterson, don't you think?
Yeah, for me, it also references like tabloids and newspapers too, almost like different coverage of the war than we get from our media, and the words are chosen carefully. I find that often civilians find military members have a specific kind of language. It is colorful and diverse and sometimes hard to understand. Right in the image it says, "unfuck," which is a very common variation of the word fuck, and soldiers use a lot of variations of that word.
That's funny, actually. Sometimes, something else I want to mention. In class, I saw a video about Anne May. Do you know her work?
Who is she?
Well, she's a Vietnamese refugee who immigrated to the U.S. in 1975. She creates large photo landscapes of military, and she's also did a Vietnam reenactment. So her recent work was called Small Wars. I have an example here called The Rescue, 1999 to 2002. And a lot of her work's in black and white.
It seems very intense, which is a little bit humorous, because it's only pretend. You know, this is a reenactment. You know, I get the same feeling as when I look at real war correspondence photography.
What's interesting too is she found out about it on the internet. But she also did film the Marine Corps base camp, Camp Pendleton in California. The Marines were training for Iraq, and so she created some. She wants to depict the relationship between the military and the landscape of their training. Did you read about the article, Why Artists Are Poor by Hans Eyving?
Yeah, why?
Well, I was looking up on Be More Art, and they were talking about her history, and she won the 2012 MacArthur Fellow, which is a Genius Grant for her recognition of her work. Well, she was given a $625,000 stipend. That's a lot of money for a poor artist, don't you think?
Oh, wow. You know, she can do a lot of landscape photography with that kind of budget. And she could probably build some of her own landscapes too.
That's the kind of grants I'd like to get awarded.
Yeah, I think we all do.
Another woman who brings war scenes into work is Martha Rosler. She's considered an undergrad artist because she pioneered using different media and media combinations. Her photo collage and her photo text is similar to the encaustic multimedia paintings that I did last fall. She was quite the feminist. I love this one called Saddam's Palace, Febreze, 2004. One of the, let me see, she places the domestic scene of a housewife in the sofa in a blasted, torn space.
Yeah, and I think it's funny again in the best way possible because it induces that uncomfortable kind of laugh inside yourself, and it's humorous. You know, she's being domestic and cleaning things. Yes, please, but it's all been bombed to hell. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. What I like this quote from Rosler. Feminism is the viewpoint that demands a rethinking of power in society, and thus an undeniable potency. One of the things that Rosler comments on is the diminution, I had to look that word up, of the role of the critic with the role of the rich collector. And so money seems to be where it is where exhibitions are concerned.
And you know, that's true. And I like what you're saying about feminism because feminism examines and deconstructs established hierarchies, and money is the ultimate motivator right now. And so it makes sense that feminism would be challenging this traditional power balance, and I think that's good. And it's it's hard to do, but it's good. And I think it serves as a reminder to examine kind of your own motivators. Like, do you let money be the power?
Well, I'm lucky. I'm not just starting out in my life, so I've done my careers. So art for me is about the making. So money doesn't work to be that, important.
Kind of moving on. Do you think people find war to be a narrow subject? Like, I think it's interesting how different we approach the subject. Like, there's a lot of variation, and I think I'm more interested in being boots on the ground and kind of like embroiled with kind of the violence in the moment.
Yes, whereas I'm more interested in what effects war has on those involved.
Yeah, and see, we have these discussions like we're having right now, but it's hard to know how to get in the public's eye.
Well, Halloween weekend, I went down to Victoria, and I visited this an artist-run center called Open Space. And Annie told me about it in one of the chats.
Oh, I've never heard of it. It's amazing how these places kind of seem to hide everywhere.
Did you know it is the oldest artist-run center in Western Canada?
No, I did not. It's very interesting.
They opened in 1972 and moved to the Fort Street location in 1974. It's a nonprofit governed by a board of working artists. They showcase contemporary art and exhibitions, and they go through 10 proposals a month, and they're even accepting email submissions.
Wow, see, that sounds like a great place. We have an excellent teacher that she pointed something so awesome out to you like that.
Yeah.
It's really close to you too. Are you going to put a submission in there?
Well, I interviewed Courtney. She was one of the people in the office, and I told her about my War Continues installation, and she encouraged me to put one in.
You should do it, definitely.
Yes, we should both put in a submission. They share a studio with MediaNet, which specializes in sound and video technology. And I talked to MediaNet first, finding out that the two are located together. They share a space.
That sounds like a plan.
Yes, we should take over the whole space.
I'm with you there.